you kind of do need people to like you. You kind of do.
That story spread around the department like absolute wildfire.
The lion does not care. Yeah, but it works here.
Slagging people off in work. Should we or shouldn't we? I'm Izzy.
And I'm Garcia.
And welcome to Informally Informed.
Yeah, I mean, slagging people off. I mean, that is essentially what it is. No matter how much people.
Well, I mean, it's my intro, so that's
yeah, that's fair, and I think that's fair because that's exactly what people do. It is slagging them off. It's like school.
So the situation,
yeah,
and the lessons learned. So the situation is as follows. This happened a few years ago. I was working in a hospital in an A&E department, and we got a patient in that was unidentified. It was a Jane Doe patient, which is quite common. Often, you know, people are walking past, they see a patient, a passerby,
they're a patient
rando,
eventually, yeah.
a drunkard, whatever you want to say, lying passed out on a street corner. They phone an ambulance, they get wheeled in, the patient's still unconscious, you don't know who they are, they don't have a wallet, etc. It's a regular occurrence. Jane Doe, as I'm sure anybody that's watched any crime TV show ever knows.
Criminal Minds has hit me up for the Jane Does.
Yes, so patient was out of it anyway, obviously, otherwise she'd have been able to identify herself. But anyway, the situation is, one of my colleagues went up to that patient during a procedure and started going, Jane, can you hear me? Everything's going to be okay, Jane. You know, and like trying to explain the procedure, but kept calling it Jane. All of the other staff just sort of looked at him like, what are you doing? Like, how do you not know what a Jane Doe is? Like, it was one of those moments, and it's not like he hasn't worked in it. It wasn't his first day. It wasn't a Homer Simpson moment, right? So naturally, that story spread around the department like absolute wildfire. Everybody was talking about it, and this particular individual at the time didn't have the best reputation when it came to things like his work ethic, stuff like that, right? So, people, you know, reputations
I know,
are like
yeah.
mud sticks.
Yeah, and in a hospital, false environment. It's like a society within society.
Yeah. And
very feudal.
Anyway, one day I was working with a couple of people from one of the different departments. Couple of the porters, and they were like, who are you on with? And sort of said, I'm working with Alex today.
Source of all knowledge, well of information.
They get everywhere.
Also, like chief slaggers offers. Like, sorry if you're a reporter, but chief slagger offers next to the receptionist. And I love all of you, you know that. But yeah, auxiliary staff, they've got all the gossip.
So they said, who are you on with? And I said I was working with Alex. And the porter was like, oh, you know, thank God, we've got you type thing. And then I sort of took it upon myself to relay the story, the Jane Doe story. And to be fair, good audience, laughed when they needed to laugh, oohed and ahed in all the right places. And after that situation, they sort of went off to do their own thing. And I thought about that, and I went home thinking, like, why have I done that? Why have I just, although it's a funny story, why have I gone out my way to slag? Although it's not really slagging him off, it is kind of a little bit. It is,
because you're perpetuating, you're part of the reason now that he's got a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As incompetent or stupid.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm desperate for these people to like me. I'm not.
For attention.
I'm not.
I know.
Like,
you don't even work there now. Yeah.
Okay, at the time, yeah. But it's not like I didn't. They already liked me. They already liked me. Got on well. One of them was like a massive Harry Potter freak. We bonded over that. It is what it is, right?
Harry Potter nerds, potheads unite.
Potterheads.
Potheads.
And so this brings me on to the lessons, and the lessons the things that I learned and the things that perhaps the viewers can take away and adopt in their own life. I've got 3 main lessons. And if people are watching this and they've taken away something completely different, then by all means let us know in the comments, right? So the first thing that I took away was people are easily led.
Very easily. Like sheeple.
If you hire a lazy person, overnight there becomes a new standard for what lazy is. And it becomes very easy through whether that person is realising they're doing it or not, and quite often they're not. The comments will start, oh, why are you stressing yourself? You've got till 5 o'clock to finish that. And subconsciously, one bad apple can change the entire department. So all of a sudden it's, you've got till 5 o'clock on Friday to finish that, and this kind of stuff. And I think culture within departments within working environments, within social environments, within school environments, family environments, is a very real thing. And people are so incredibly led, and it is up to that individual to inoculate themselves against it. Build that immunity, build that tolerance.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How? Because
don't do what I did.
Because as much as, like, obviously I understand what you're saying. It's I find that in environments, like, because I've also worked in hospitals, I've worked in office environments as well. When it's like that false sort of environment wherein you kind of do need people to like you. You kind of do. So it tends to be like the going with the crowd thing is the easiest.
I have an answer for this.
Go on.
Well, one, this,
Yeah.
by which I mean self-reflection.
Of course.
Because I could have gone away from that situation or thought anything of it. And secondly, I'm not suggesting when somebody mentions the Jane Doe story for you to sit up straight, turn to face them and demand, how very dare you.
Because these days you're a Karen if you do shit like that.
Just go, all right, smile and crack on with your day.
Mm.
That's not the same as calling everybody out on their shit at any given moment.
Mm.
There's one person that I work with at the moment that's not long recently started. He made a comment to me about, I don't like to get involved in politics, work politics and stuff. I just like to come in, do my job and go home. Well, everybody says that, but very few people actually do that. I have noticed upon occasion when the topic turns to somebody else in work or whatever it is, he'll just sort of get up and will wander off, or you'll be in a conversation, they'll suddenly look up, turn around and go, where's he gone? Because he's clearly like, I'm removing myself from this situation.
Actively,
I don't want to be. He's actively making steps to do that. It's probably something nobody else in work's noticed. I've noticed. Right? So that's my answer to that. Self-reflection. That was actually going to be my 4th point, but 3's a more psychologically satisfying number. So those are the lessons that I went with. Okay. Lesson numero 2. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Old adage, but true.
Most people are everyone is multiple things. And it's very easy when somebody gets one negative adjective against them for you to just sort of add more without really thinking about it. And before you know where you are, that Jane Doe story has turned into, well, he's incompetent we didn't get up quickly enough the other day, therefore he's lazy, he's obviously uncaring, otherwise he would have gotten to take time, and the list goes on. He's selfish. I remember when I was working there, I was having a conversation with someone going, I don't like Alex, he's an arsehole, right? I'm thinking, I actually thought he was a really interesting person because I've taken the time. And, we can do an entire episode on the consequences of both intentional and unintentional ostracization.
Yeah.
But there is a human impact.
Of course.
There. Like, Alex wasn't... I mean, we both know pricks.
Of course.
I mean, pricks.
Yes.
How much of a prick can one really be
I
when he's
mean...
just sitting there on his phone
Oh, right,
in
okay.
silence, not really engaged, not really saying a whole lot?
But it's what people infer. So can I quickly interrupt real quick? So where I used to work, before I was even a nurse, I was a care assistant, HCA, healthcare assistant. All right. I used to just I worked there for years, and I'd just go and do my shift, go and chill with the patients, and then go home about business. Right. That's all I did. From that, I got a weird reputation as being antisocial and kind of rude. Now,
Wow.
shut up. Now, the problem was, all I was doing is, like you said, there aren't that many people that do that. Just go to work, and then live their lives outside of work. But I find that when people do have that attitude, that is the one that's out of the norm. And it's such a weird place to be in, where you're like, well, I don't live at work, do you? And if you do, why? And it's that thing where you have to be, you are, it's almost like, do you remember at the top of the episode when I said it was like school? It's almost that you have to be in the in crowd, or you're weirdly on the outside, like Gossip Girl. I'm Dan, except Dan was weirdly always on the inside. Girl. Yeah, and he was Gossip Girl. They portrayed him. Yeah. Ugh.
I mean, that's one of the things.
Spoilers for those people that haven't seen Gossip Girl.
That's one of the things.
Dan was Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
But
not because Dan was Gossip Girl, but because the things that they said and the actions they took in the program didn't marry up.
No,
they portrayed him as an outsider, but he wasn't.
He was an insider, but that's what I mean. Yeah. Like, Dan doesn't really count, but the general idea that if you're not in the in crowd, then you're outside and weird. But in actuality, being in the in crowd, especially in a workplace setting, that's the weird. That's the weird part. Like, these are people that are not necessarily your friends. Like, you leave work, do you see them?
So this was one of the points that I was thinking about. I was like, I liked these two porters, right?
Yeah.
One of them, like I said, Harry Potter guy.
Yeah.
Always got time for them. The other one was recommended a good couple of TV programs to me, up until the point where he recommended one that was shit, and now he's dead to me. But before that, like,
it's a steep slope. It's a slippery slope.
But this actually ties in so nicely with my third one, actually. The lesson learned for the third one is always be yourself and always say what you believe to be true, regardless of how other people will take that. Because people are always going to dislike you. So you might as well be disliked for being somebody that you are, rather than somebody that you're not. And you know what? Don't rob an opportunity from somebody else to dislike you for who you are.
Do you know what I mean?
And now they're disliking you for something that they think that you're not even. So
dislike me for who I am. God damn it. There's so many things to hate. Hate those things.
And this is the thing, like, those porters, I mean, they're very nice. Get on well with them. They get on.
Shout out to the porters out there.
They crack on with jobs. Not all porters do that, right? These two did.
Porters and builders go hand in hand for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, good crack.
Good crack. Yeah, salt the earth.
But they're not my besties.
No.
They're not people that I would choose to be. If you're watching this and you know who you are, please don't be offended. But they're not people that I would choose to socialise with outside of work.
Not because they're porters, by the way.
It's not worth losing my moral integrity to impress people that mean virtually nothing to me in the real world.
The lion does not care. But but it works here.
I know because I'm not a lion and they're not sheep. Although I suppose technically
it's antelopes. It's antelopes, but it does work. It does work. The lion does not care for the opinion of the antelope.
How does that work? No, I think sheep works better because you can apply the mindset of being a sheep to work culture. Whereas you can't say that I'm better than them and I'm going to eat them for dinner.
It's not the same. It's not a better than. It's not a better than. It's that you're not going to suddenly become an antelope, are you? No, you're still a lion. So be a lion. See how it works.
Gonna be a
Except
lion.
in this, you're not ever a lion. It's like maybe the anteater does not care for the opinions of the ants. But then who's the ants? I think that makes it worse. We'll stick to lion. You'd be a lion.
I think they should just have two animals that are kind of similar, but not really.
Yeah, I know.
Like, the squirrels don't care about the opinions of the rabbits.
No,
they're just different breeds, aren't they? They're just different breeds.
Yeah, but the idea is also, like, prey and predator.
I know, but that's why I don't feel
Yeah,
feel like
fair
that.
enough.
That
You're not going to eat
analogy
them. Although
works
if
in
you
this
did,
situation.
it would be hilarious.
Okay.
I wouldn't put cannibalism past you. I think given the right circumstances, you totally eat people.
Hey, if somebody left me on an island with no food, I'm down for the cannibalism.
See,
I
feel like...
And I feel like anybody that says that they wouldn't be down for the cannibalism in a situation where it's that or death, they're not lying to me, they're lying to themselves.
But I also feel like it's never that or death, because if you're on an island, right, the likelihood is going to be surrounded...
They did this in Russia. They dropped a bunch of people on an island with no food, frozen, and they came back 2 weeks later and they'd cannibalised each other.
No survival skills, just
thing.
Straight for cannibalism. Like, fuck me.
But desert island, like, frosted over, no food, no trees, no nothing.
Not even a bit of ice fishing? Not even a bit of ice fishing? Come on.
Well, I don't know whether they went straight for the cannibalism, but that was the result. There's been multiple things where
there's actually a TV show that I've not watched called Yellow Jackets, and I believe there's some cannibalism in that. I've not got around to watching it yet. I probably never will. You should totally leave TV shows that you recommend in the comments that I will never watch. But I'll make Izzy watch them and then give me the TLDR. So...
Okay, so to recap, my 3 lessons learned. People are easily led, number 1.
Yep.
Number 2, don't judge a book by its cover, because you don't know whether you're intentionally or unintentionally ostracizing someone. You don't know the human effects of that situation. Because guaranteed, if you asked Alex's wife, do you think he's a selfish arsehole? The answer is going to be a lot different than what everybody in work thinks.
Unless she thinks so too.
I wonder what he's up to nowadays. It's been years.
Hello, anyway. Big Al, the pal.
We still making any Jane Doe mistakes. And always be yourself and always say what you believe to be true, regardless of consequences, for your own moral integrity.
Yeah.
And then people will, although they might not like it in the moment, people will respect you more.
Excellent. I feel the same as I did, but I feel better for you. I remember us having this conversation. I'm glad that we did.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear about your scenario, which I will get to hear in about 10 minutes, and the viewers will get to hear about next week.
Yep. Okay. So join us next week. Feel free to definitely comment. Join us on all our socials. Run VT.
And what I'm interested in as well is other people's interpretations of the same scenarios. So if you got something completely different from that, if your takeaway wasn't Izzy shouldn't have slagged somebody off, but was in fact what had Alex done in work in order to try and prevent himself from doing, or whatever the situation, even if it's something completely different, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you next time.
Join us next week. Let us know if you agree or disagree with any of our views. That's the point of the conversation. Join in.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.